Hey everybody, it is Friday, February 7th, and this is episode number 8 of Super GameTalk Turbo HD Remix. I'm your host, Capanius, and as always, I am joined by Vertigo Tea Party.
Hello.
And we're back once again. We have survived the perilous, treacherous ice and snow that has befallen the Atlanta metro area.
Snowpocalypse 2013.
Hothlanta. And we're back to discuss the games we've been playing and other gaming topics. I think you were okay. You stayed home pretty much the whole time. You weren't.
Oh yes.
You weren't stuck out in the traffic, but I got stuck when my longest commute home. It took me 3.5 hours.
Good God.
And a mile of walking. So I had to walk the last mile to get home. But
what happened? Did a car get stuck or?
No. It's just traffic was completely stuck, and I was just like, I can park my car and just walk home faster. So
wow,
I would have been there for another 2 or 3 hours at least.
For comparison sakes, how long would it normally take you to get home?
15 to 20 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes became 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours and a mile walk. So.
The girl that I'm dating, she has a friend, said it took him over 6 hours to get home.
Man, it was terrible. People were in their car for 22, 24 hours. So just to set the record straight for all of our national listeners, I've been hearing a lot of, people laughing at the Atlanta area for 2 inches of snow, but this is not normal stuff, all right? It snowed, melted, and then refroze. And that's completely different. And on top of that, everybody was out at the same time. So the forecast going to bed at night said we were going to get a dusting of snow. And then it started snowing. And so the powers that be let all the kids out. And on a beautiful day, Atlanta could not support that. Like, we don't even have the infrastructure for, like, normal days. Like, Atlanta's transit infrastructure sucks. So when that happened, it was an assured disaster.
Yeah, like it is totally different. I lived in Wyoming for 2 years, and usually once it started snowing, you weren't going to get a scenario where it snows and then it gets hot enough the next day where it all melts, and then it's cold again the next day where it freezes. Mm-hmm. Usually it's to the point that it's just going to be snow, and the minute a snowflake hits the road, they've got snow plows out there dusting or salting and sanding and plowing the roads.
Yeah, and so the traffic was so bad that the trucks couldn't even get to where they needed to go. So
yeah, so
anyway, stop making fun of us.
Yes, leave us alone.
Come on, we did our best. But at least that allowed us to stay home and play some VG games.
Yes, it did.
So what VG games have you been playing?
Oddly enough, not a lot of different ones, despite being snowed in. Which, not that I would have went anywhere anyway on my own body. I did finally finish Shadow Warrior. My opinion of the game is the same.
You hate it?
Yes, garbage. Actually, I loved that game. It had. I'm not going to go into it because I've talked about that game multiple times in this podcast. But long story short,
thank God.
I know, right? Everybody sighs in relief as I go on about 15 minutes talking about it. But it takes a lot of the good stuff from old FPSs, like hectic action, being able to use all your weapons at once. No regenerating health, health and armor pickups, things like that. But it brings modernization to it. You have levels, you have abilities that you can unlock, skill trees, things like that, which really make you feel like you're getting more powerful as you level up. And it's just a hell of a lot of fun, very bloody, very satisfying. The weakest point was the boss fights. Boss fights were really lame. It was almost all exactly the same kind of thing. And I don't think I died a single time on a boss fight. I don't think. So yeah, they were definitely really weak, and the story was actually surprisingly good. Like, I definitely was expecting, okay, demons invading, you're the only man who can stop them, and that would be it. But it was actually a really cool story. I liked it. I also finished Rage by id Software, and it was pretty good. It was better than I was expecting. It
got some pretty. I feel like it got a lot of negative press when it first came out. Like, and I don't think because it was just like straight up terrible. It's just people had pretty high expectations for it. I had a friend of mine, he played it through and he liked it. Like, he was like, it's pretty good. Like,
yeah, I liked it as well. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad by any stretch.
It's funny when a game releases like that, I feel like there's a bit of a permanence to people's public perception of it. Like, it didn't meet expectations, so I think I guess, collective memory of that game is it's no good. It's kind of an uphill battle for a game.
That reminds me a lot of another game that I've been playing, is Fable. It seems like Peter Molyneux really hyped that game up so much. And this was back when people actually respected Peter Molyneux. And he just said all this stuff that you could do in the game, this crazy cool stuff. People were like, wow, yes, this is amazing. And when it came out, it had like 1% of the things that he said it was going to have.
I think it was when people started to realize, like, take anything Peter Molyneux says with a grain of salt. But before then, people were like, this guy's a visionary.
Well, there was Black and White was before that.
Yeah, I actually felt like Black and White was pretty fun. I didn't feel like I was disappointed by it.
Well, Fable's the same way. Fable's fun.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the setting. I think the voice act, everything just fits together really well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an overarching serious story, but there's so much goofiness. But it all works. It just all works. The voice acting, the graphics, they all just work together.
Jokes.
Yeah, and there's all these fun side things to do, like opening demon doors. You have to kind of puzzle those out and all that. So it's a good game. It's just not anywhere near what Molyneux had said. So I think that has tainted the game. So if he wouldn't have said anything other than, oh, we're working on an RPG that's coming out, it's going to be pretty cool, I think people would have liked it a lot better because they wouldn't have been disappointed in what the final product was. And I'd probably have it with Rage. But quite frankly, I wasn't expecting much out of id. Because even back when Doom 3 came out, I let myself be excited. And I was disappointed because it was a mediocre game.
Yeah.
And so I was expecting mediocrity out of Rage because I think it is damn good at making like the technical aspects. Mm-hmm. But game design, it's just really bland. So, and like I say, Doom or Rage was fun. I enjoyed it. The guns felt really satisfying, which I can't say about Doom 3. I think the guns felt a lot more satisfying. There's a lot of weaknesses. Like, it was too easy to upgrade your guns like all the way. Mm-hmm. You just had to find it and buy like one upgrade, and okay, your gun's upgraded.
So it was just like you went from no upgrades to done on
that
weapon?
Pretty much. Like, wow. I think every gun had like one upgrade each.
That
I
seems
think
pretty simple.
One or two might have had two upgrades. And there was different ammo types you could use, and there was some crafting. I like the crafting, and there were some fun things like you could make a little spire bot that followed you. I thought that was quite fun, and the driving was okay. I know they really pitched the driving thing, and I didn't care about that from the start. You know, I just wasn't interested. I've never been that interested in driving the vehicles, so it was okay. It was passable. It was very arcadey controls, which is fine by me. That's what I'd rather have in a driving game because I'm not really into driving games. But overall, it was good. I mean, I'd say if you can pick it up for $15 to $20, especially if you're not just going to go through the main quest only, if you're going to do the side stuff, I'd say it's definitely worth it.
Oh, it goes on way lower sales than that every once in a while.
Yeah.
If you wait till a summer or winter sale, you could probably pick it up for like $3 to $5.
Yeah, I think if you like FPS games at all, it'd be crazy not to get it for that.
Crazy not to. It'd be insane.
You also be crazy if you don't get the stupid pop-in fix. The texture pop-in by default is shameful.
Yeah.
Like, I would have hung my head low to have hung. Like, this isn't like, you know, your graphics Nazis going, the graphics, if I look very closely, I can tell it's not a German accent at all. But
it started out kind of Japanese.
I don't know where it was. I don't know.
So I guess what nationality did graphics Nazis come from?
I would think Germany.
Okay.
Because that's where all Nazis come from. Not really. But it's not like I'm just picking apart. I mean, it is painfully obvious that if you turn like a 180-degree turn, just the textures go from crap to popping in. And it's very distracting. Yeah. And with the fix, if you just Google it, you'll find it. It helped a lot. Like, it was 90% better.
Cool.
So definitely get that. And like I say, it was really fun. And it looks really good for the most part. It has this weird combination of looking really great in some areas and some textures being just god awful.
It's kind of like Gran Turismo 6.
Yeah.
I feel like we experienced that when we were watching that.
The only other game that I played that I really want to talk about anymore is Octodad. I started playing that, and
And this is for PC, right? It's not.
Yeah,
out
this
on
is the
PS4.
PC version. Yeah, my understanding is there's no release date yet for PS4.
Okay.
But you can pick it up on Humble Store or Steam. It's on PC, Mac, and Linux. And I think it's $15. And I have to say, when I first saw this game, I was like, another one of those crappy surgeon simulator slash what's the archery game called? Probably archery, where the gameplay is the controls are god awful. Isn't this awesome? It's like I don't like those types of games. So when I saw this, I was like, it's just another one of those. But I did get a review code for Octodad, and I'm going to do a let's try on it. But so far, I like it. The controls are awkward, but they're not so god awful that you're just feels like you're doing random things. It feels like if you're careful and you take your time, you can mostly control what you're doing. I don't ever feel like my guy is completely out of control on what he's doing, or like I'm trying to grab something and I'm spending 5 minutes trying to get it. It feels, again, awkward, but in like not chaotically awkward.
Right.
And so far it's been funny. I like the humor in it. I like the complete absurdity of it as well. It's just so asinine that this guy's walking around in a suit and everybody just thinks, he's a human.
The premise is that you play an octopus who's posing as a human who's also on his wedding day, and then he's getting married, and then he becomes a father, I guess.
Yeah, right. He has 2 totally normal children somehow. I would be suspecting the wife doing something funny, but yeah, like, so, and all the quests, at least so far, have been very simple things, like make hamburgers for the kids, or mow the lawn, but of course, all of this is way harder because you're
an octopus.
Right, exactly. And you control the legs individually, and you control like one arm to kind of grab and push and whatnot. And the thing is, you have to be careful not to make people aware that something is wrong, which the fact that you speak and blah, 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 the entire time you think would be kind of a good
nobody
one.
else speaks like that?
No, everybody else speaks totally normal, and everybody understands him perfectly fine. It's so ridiculous, but so that's part of what makes it an interesting and charming game. And you control the legs individually, and you control the arm like by itself. And like I say, just the controls, they feel really good. And there's been a lot of talk about how this game is kind of a version of where you feel awkward, or you feel like, whether it's your job or your hobby or whatever it is, and you feel like you're not confident in that, and you feel like
you're a fraud,
right? And you're afraid at any moment people are just going to find out, like, wait, this person is terrible at what they do, and all of this. And I don't think that was the intention, but they've said that's kind of come up like during development, that you're kind of playing that off, and that you're playing the octopus dad, and you're trying to pass off as human because you're afraid that if they find out you're an octopus, then your family won't love you anymore and everyone will hate you. So you're just trying to kind of wobble your way into a normal life. And that is pretty cool. But the gameplay itself has been really good, and like I said, the music and all the voice acting is especially the blah, 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 that's spot on right there.
Perfect. Yeah, I just imagine them in the recording studio.
No.
One more time. Could you just, I don't know, not just do it a little bit better. I don't know.
A little less. A little bit more. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. One thing I find interesting about games like that is that, Octodad, I guess, as a concept, has existed for several years. Like, there was a prototype that somebody made. Yeah, I think it was 2009 or 2010.
I think around 2010. I think they were university students at the time.
Yeah, so it was some, or it came from a game jam or something like that. And people were like, "Oh, that's a really funny concept," and they're like, "Let's make this into a full game." And this is, as far as I know, this is the first like full-fledged release of any Octodad, right?
Yeah, there was like a short Octodad, like a 1 hour long one, I believe. Yeah. That was just called Octodad.
Yeah.
And this one is Octodad Dadliest Catch.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I just find it interesting that these indie games have ridiculous development times. Like, it's like 3 years to make Octodad. Or like Nidhogg, that came out, and that took 3 years.
Wow.
Because it came, I feel like these things start out as a game jam, and then people see them like, oh, that's a really cool concept, and then like they do something else, and then they come back to it, And I see so many indie games that take like 3 years before we get our hands on it.
Well, what's crazy too is Octodad is something really short. I think it takes like 3 hours to beat the whole game.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what's even crazy when you think it took them this long, and it's like, I'll beat this game in 3 hours.
Or like Nidhogg. I feel like the basically the greatest thing about the game is how simple it is. And so you'd think in its simplicity, like they could have developed that faster, but it was just one dude. But even if it's just one dude, like I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I feel like there was another indie. Oh, have you heard of Sports Friends?
No.
Okay, so it actually started out. Have you heard of Johann Sebastian Joust?
That sounds familiar.
So it started out as like just a kind of a proof of concept. Like you hold a PlayStation motion controller, and you have to keep it like imagine it's a glass of water. Like you can't shake it, whatever. And there's music playing. It's kind of like musical chairs. When the music is fast, you can move around freely or whatever. But when the music is slow, you have to slow down. And I've never played it.
Yeah.
But so you have 4 people holding these controllers, and you have to mess with the other person. You gotta like hit the controller so he dies.
That's pretty.
And
awesome.
so it's kind of interesting because it's a game. It's a digital game that doesn't have any output from a display, like a screen. You're just holding you see the light on the controller tells you whether you're dead or not. You know?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so it's a cool concept. And they had a Kickstarter where they're like, well, let's bundle this and some other, like Bari Bari Ball is another game that they put. And I keep hearing from like people in the know, the games press, that get to play these games. Like, oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. But I've been hearing that for like 3 years now. It's like, all right, I want to get my hands on this game, you know? And so I've been looking to see if I can find PlayStation Move controllers like on clearance somewhere so I can stock up on them and get 4 of them. Because it's the perfect party game.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah.
And I heard it's a lot of fun.
Perfect party game / friendship destroyer.
Yes, exactly.
When Smash Brothers isn't enough.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that game. Smash Brothers is coming. But we're just a few months away, I think.
Are we?
I don't know if they put a release date on it, but
I haven't been keeping up with Nintendo releases for various reasons.
Yeah, they're having a hard time lately.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's what I hear.
But I guess moving on was what were we even talking about? We were talking about your game.
Yeah, my last game was just Octodad.
Oh, okay, like Octodad. That's right.
That's the only really new game that I've been playing, I think.
Okay, cool. Well, I've been playing an odd, I guess, separation between like new games and old games. I've still been playing a bunch of Super Nintendo games from that Super EverDrive. Me and the wife played through Donkey Kong Country in its entirety, and I have to say, I can't remember if we talked about this on the last episode. I remember we talked about the EverDrive.
Yeah, right.
But we finished Donkey Kong Country, and that has a really awesome tag mechanic for 2-player co-op.
Yeah. That
more platformers need to do. So
yeah, I was about to ask, how does the co-op work in that game?
So, you know, if you're playing 1-player Donkey Kong Country, you start out as Donkey Kong, and then you get a barrel and you get Diddy Kong. And if you get hit, then Diddy Kong takes over. So it's kind of like you have 2 guys. Well, the way it works in 2-player is that, you know, you can tag out at any time and let the other person control. If you get hit by something, then the other person like gets tagged in.
Right.
If you like fall, like you die from falling off the screen, then everybody dies. It's just like you know, the 1-player mode. But what's cool about it is like if there's a particular sequence or a jump that you're like it's like, I can't handle this. Do you want to try? You can tag over and the other person can play. So you can go back and forth anytime you want. Whereas like Super Mario Brothers 1-player, 2-player games, it's just you alternate.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even like a co-op thing. It's just like I'm playing my game, and then if I die, you play your game.
Right. Exactly.
Like, and so I was playing this game from 1995, thinking this is still revolutionary. Like, why is this not ripped off? Because I feel like you know, we had a lot of good fun playing a platformer together, but you never think of a platformer as a co-op game.
Right. And
now that it's like an online co-op platformer would be really cool. Like if you could play together and tag in and go back and forth over the same levels. So
I wonder how well that would work though with random people. Like it seems like that would be
not random. I don't think that would work with random people.
Yeah, I think that would be maybe the problem is I'm really curious how big the co-op market is. Like not random co-op, just like I'm gonna co-op with my friends.
But I never random co-op any game. If I'm
Right.
playing a game
Yeah.
co-op, it's like I'll communicate with a friend and be like, let's play it tonight, because to me half the fun is like socializing while you're playing through that game.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't want to do it with a stranger,
Yeah.
But yeah, like Resident Evil 5, Gears of War are great online co-op games that you just play through the story mode with a friend who's like also playing through.
Yeah.
And I feel like a platformer, there's no online co-op platformers unless, I don't know, for all I know, the upcoming Donkey Kong Country might be.
It's Donkey Kong.
But it's for Wii U. Who's doing online things
Nintendo.
on the Wii U?
It's Nintendo. Yeah, they don't. They hate the internet still.
So yeah, I'd like that. That's on my wish list now. An online co-op platformer and a really good one. But yeah, I forgot how hard the final boss is in that game.
Really?
It'd been a long time since I played it. It's a long sequence of things.
Yeah,
like,
I remember like a credits roll and he gets back up or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, the first time through, I was like, "Whoa, I guess we beat it," or whatever. And the guy's like, "Ha!" And I'm like, "Oh crap!" It's like, bastard, stupid game.
Quick time events.
Yeah,
Dodge
so
the crown.
we got snowed in and we played a bunch of Donkey Kong Country, and it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. We also played a ton of head-to-head puzzle games. So, we played Tetris Battle Gaiden, which came out in Japan. We played that a lot, and what's fun about that game is not just the game itself, but trying to learn what all the specials are when you're playing a Japanese game, because you can't read anything on the menus. But it's like, all right, when this character does this happens, So we were trying to figure out the logic behind the special moves on that game. That game is a lot of fun. But we played some Kirby's Avalanche and Tetris Attack. So what's interesting about some of these head-to-head puzzle games is head-to-head puzzle games are like really big in Japan. Like if you go to an arcade, they'll have head-to-head puzzle games. And in much the same way we had a popularity of fighting games,
right.
There's a ton of people lining up to play puzzle games against each other. And over there, they have Puyo Puyo, they have Panel de Pon, they have Magical Drop, they have all these games you never heard of. So when they go to release, they'll want to localize them. They can't just call them Puyo Puyo or Panel de Pon. Like that sounds weird or whatever. So they localize Puyo Puyo as Kirby's Avalanche, and they just slap Kirby's name on it. And they put basically Nintendo characters into it. And then for the Sega Genesis, they called it Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And so they just put when they licensed it to Nintendo, they put Nintendo characters. They licensed it to Sega, they put Sega characters on it. And then for Panel de Pon, it's Tetris Attack. And it's got Yoshi on it and all these people from Yoshi's World. And then the sequel to that was Pokemon Puzzle League for the Nintendo 64. So it's like we've had this weird, there's this weird trivia behind matching an American release of a puzzle game to the original Japanese puzzle game. Yeah. But me and my wife have been playing a lot of those games, and those are a lot of fun.
Have you done any Bomberman? Super Bomberman?
No, we haven't. We
need to.
Yes, that's a fun game.
I remember me and my friends back in high school, I think I vaguely heard of Super Bomberman, and we were having, we were all going to spend the night at a friend's house. There was 4 or 5 of us. So we wanted a 4-player game. Obviously, options are pretty limited. Yeah. So I was like, I think I've heard of Super Bomberman. I think this is good. Man, we played the hell out of that. We loved it. It was so much fun. I actually really got into Bomberman on some of the GameCube releases. Yeah. Because, the 64 and the GameCube had 4 controller ports already. Yeah. And so it's like those machines were perfect for stuff like that. Yeah. And we played a lot of Bomberman. And it's I found it, they got weirder and weirder with the Bomberman releases. It was Bomberman, Super Bomberman. And it was later on it was Bomberman 64, then Bomberman Generations, and then it's but we played that game a ton. And there was lots of random, I feel like Bomberman Generations was the perfect time at which
the graphics improved and there was a bunch of like weird power ups, but it didn't get like to the point of just being recycled and uninspired. Like, I guess do you know when they added roller skates?
I think I only played Super Bomberman on Super Nintendo.
Did they have roller skates in that one?
I know they had something to make you run faster. I don't know if that was just the roller skates or if that's something different.
It might be. I don't remember, but yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So
Donkey Kong Country and a bunch of puzzle games, and I also played through Injustice. So
the entire story?
Yeah.
What did you think of the story?
I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I thought it was a comic book story.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it was anything special.
I heard a lot of good things about the story. I mean, obviously, again, understanding that it's a comic book story.
Yeah, it is. It's silly. It is a Saturday morning cartoon type storyline. Right. But in a way, I guess I don't want to be spoilery with it, but it's an alternate dimension storyline. So in a way, that is a really good way to have like, oh, now it's Batman versus Batman, or it's Superman versus Superman. Like it's Dimension 1 versus Dimension 2, and so you can have basically double the amount of people in the story doing things. And so like, Joker will have to fight this one character and then go see another character who's from a different dimension.
Right.
But it was actually, you'd think a story like that would get confusing. They actually did a pretty good job of keeping stuff together and keeping the story not too complicated.
Yeah. And
it's pretty cool. Like, you start out playing as Batman, and then you have 4 fights with cutscenes in between, and then you switch over to Joker, and then you switch over, actually, I don't remember if it was Joker second, but you switch from character to character, and you do about 4 or 5 fights per character. And then there's cinemas between different things, and I think, I honestly think, and this sounds like a huge praise, but it's one of the best like single player experiences in a game. Now the story's good. You have an XP progression where you're unlocking stuff at every level. So like when I was like a quarter of the way through the story, I would take a break from it, and I could play an online match, or I could play the battle mode, which is kind of like the classic fighting game experience where you just fight 10 random opponents. Yeah. And you get experience for everything you're doing.
Oh, cool.
And so you're unlocking things with your experience, costumes, stages or whatever. And the single player experience is really good. Like, the only downside I think to it is just kind of, I feel like a lot of the character types are too samey. Like, there's not really this big, like, here's this fighting style, and here's this fighting style, and here's this fighting style. Like, everybody kind of controls the same way. Like, and there's too many of the same button combinations that do the exact same thing. So, like, if I press back and X, that's the attack that launches them forward, and they bounce off, and then they come back. And if I do the timing right, I can juggle them correctly.
Right, yeah. I think something like that is supposed to be universal.
Yeah. But I feel like there's a balance between, obviously you don't want the characters to be completely the same.
Right, yeah.
And you want there to be some overlap so you can skip around on characters more easily and try different characters out.
So what did you play this on, by the way? PS4?
PS4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you buy it or rent it?
I bought it. Mm-hmm. So there was actually I had a $20 like digital download credit on Amazon, and it went on sale. So the cool thing is when Sony has a digital sale, Amazon matches it for their digital storefront. So I was able to use Amazon credit on Sony's sale to get it. So after that, it was like $15.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it was a really good deal, and so I was like, I'll play through this, and it was really fun. I think that the specials are a lot of fun to watch. Like,
oh yeah.
They're just over the top and crazy, and the computer is really easy. Like,
have you watched any tournaments?
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, I was just watching, and it does seem like they're continuing to try to balance the game.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I know initially Superman was broken as all hell. And
like, he was nerfed, or
he's just too good.
Too good.
Like, he was ridiculously good, and apparently they've nerfed him. And I saw characters in the tournament that I never really saw people using before, like Harley Quinn. Like, she used to be like pretty bad, like considered really low tier, I think. I don't really keep up that much on the fighting game stuff, but I do love to watch the tournaments. and she was considered pretty low tier. And I saw somebody like completely whooping ass at the tournament with her. It was nice to start seeing different characters starting to get thrown into the mix instead of just Superman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and I think it was like one other character that was
it Green Arrow? Or I found him to be really good.
Green Arrow seemed like he could have like a good chance at first, but then later on I never saw anybody use it hardly ever.
It's funny how it's so hard to predict what like top tier like selection will end up being like, because I'll play through a character and I was like, I really like this character, this is good, and I was like, no one uses this character like in pro. It's like, okay, I mean, it's not like that matters if you're having fun. It's just interesting. I also played a lot of Joker.
I think he's still considered really low tier.
Really?
I think. Yeah,
that's funny.
But
and I think the level transitions are a lot of fun. I mean, like after I beat the game, I just like played through battle mode and I was like, I'm just gonna unlock every level transition because I want to see them. Like, I like the Arkham Asylum level transitions are awesome.
Yeah, that one is really good.
It's just really cool. That gives a sense of place, and you know, like, and when you're playing in the Arkham Asylum stage, if you knock somebody into a wall, it basically they'll go into like somebody's cell, and so I know you know this, but I guess for the people listening, and so one of them you knock him in, you can knock your opponent into Scarecrow's cell, and he stabs him with like this, like I guess hallucinogenic, and then Scarecrow becomes this huge creature like in the original Arkham Asylum, and it was really awesome.
Yeah,
and then the specials are a lot of fun, just to figure out how to time them and how to use them and
see how crazy absurd they are.
Yeah,
Aquaman probably has the best one.
Yeah, the shark.
Yeah, like he's basically summons a huge tide and you're both underwater and he's like stabs you with this trident and holds you up, and like this shark comes by and like chomps you and spits you out. It's like that's one of the better ones.
This is a subtle thing that I wish would happen, but if you finish on a special like Aquaman's, like the funny thing is the shark comes and swallows you whole, and then if that's the finishing move, you come back to the arena, you stand up, and then you fall over. Like, and it's almost like I just wish it would be like he was gone. It's like, the shark ate him, like he's gone. Like,
that's one thing I never did like about the game was if you kill an enemy like with something like that, they stand up then fall down. Like, just fall down.
Or if it was like one of those things where like Lex Luthor's special is he gets this satellite that shoots him this ball of energy, and he throws this ball of energy. Let there be like a skeleton on the ground, like I don't know. Something, some charred remnant.
And it's the same guys who made Mortal Kombat. So
I know, that's what I mean. Like,
let's make this happen.
There should be, these specials should be fatality if it's the last thing that happens.
Yeah. I was a total Mortal Kombat rat, too, so I was kind of disappointed that Mortal Kombat 9 never really took off. Because I did play that online a little bit. Not a whole lot. But
I saw a Mortal Kombat fight stick, like the deluxe one at 2nd and Charles. Just go get it, man.
No, I shouldn't.
You get in some MK9, man. It was pretty sweet.
Well, apparently, and I don't know if they fixed it, but I know the net code for MK9 was awful for like a long time. So I don't know if they ever bothered to fix it. Probably not.
Yeah. I don't think, it didn't seem like they supported it for very long.
Yeah. It seems like they kind of just threw it out there and were like, these characters are broken. All right.
Because, I don't see it on any tournaments.
I've seen it pop up, but it definitely doesn't have anywhere near the following that any of the other ones do.
Because I even see people are still playing Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Yeah,
they're still
I've
playing
seen that one.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken at some places. Even though
Street Fighter Cross Tekken, that's so cute.
That one's terrible. And so while we're talking about fighting games, I figured I could give the good news. There's going to be a location test for Ultra Street Fighter 4 in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah. At Final Round in March. Capcom's going to be there, and they're going to be bringing some cabinets to play Ultra Street Fighter 4.
Oh, nice.
So they can... Yeah, so it's interesting. Before an arcade game comes out, they have location tests where, traditionally they've only been in, like, Tokyo and SoCal. But, like, they would actually have, set up the game in arcade cabinets and have the best players come by and face each other. People,
Yeah.
You can just imagine people with clipboards behind them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a public beta test for a game. But that's kind of cool because it'll be a good month and a half before Ultra comes out. So I'm going to go down there and hopefully get a chance to play it. So
Yeah, I would like to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've kind of like dropped out of the whole fighting. I mean, not that I was ever really in it, but I used to really like fighting games back in the Mortal Kombat 2 era, if that tells you anything. Mortal Kombat 3, Mortal Kombat 4 was probably was around the time I started to kind of dip out. Wasn't really doing fighting games a lot. And I tried to hop back in with Street Fighter 4, like the first Street Fighter 4, and that was awful.
You should hop back into a real fighting game, Street Fighter 4. That's not the MK.
I also used the Xbox controller, which was god awful. At least the D-pad is god awful.
I have a fight stick you can borrow if you like, and we could play.
I need to not get into fighting games at all. It just takes so much time to get halfway
into
decent.
fighting games because I have nobody to fight. It's impossible to get better when you don't know anybody playing the game. Not impossible. It's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, please bring it over and play sometimes.
We'll see what happens. See what happens.
While I'm playing with the controller,
do you
and you got the fight stick.
Do you have Super, or do you just have a regular
Street Fighter 4 for 360, and
Mm-hmm.
no working Xbox controllers.
Oh, I found it. I got it. I meant to bring it over. Oh man.
Oh well.
I already promised you my my Xbox 360 controller, and I actually dug through and found it, and I set it on my desk. I was like, I'm taking this over to Johnny's on Thursday, and then I forgot it.
Poor Bayonetta's going unplayed.
Yeah.
It's the main reason I wanted to play Bayonetta again.
Well, I'll if you want to come to lunch tomorrow, then
if I'm awake early enough,
yes, if you want to wake up for breakfast at a pizza place or something. Anyway, Injustice was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I finished that and actually did a little trophy hunting. You know, like, oh, let me try that. You know, so I'm still having some fun with it. I'm not done with it, but you know, it's one of those things that I don't see myself like getting so serious with it that I play a bunch of online matches.
Yeah.
It's funny getting into a fighting game that's an old fighting game because the people that are out there playing it online still are like no joke about it, you know. So it would be fun. That's the thing. It's like even when Ultra comes out, there's gonna be like the people that are still into Street Fighter 4 are not.
It's gonna be
no slouches. Yeah,
it's gonna be bloody. Well, not to get too much off this topic, but I do know somebody who really likes fighting games. I don't know which systems he has though. I'll have to hit him up. But he's big into Street Fighter in particular. But I know he likes. I think he likes Skullgirls and the other stuff. I have to hit him up and see if But he is in Europe somewhere, so there might be a little latency issue. So I don't know how bad it would be, but it might
probably
be
pretty bad.
Trying it anyway.
It might be worth doing. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty far.
Yeah,
for your button
not these
presses
days. It's just like a few milliseconds away.
Man, but yeah, I played a lot of Injustice and that was fun. So I'm looking forward to. I think the next PS4 game I'm looking forward to is Strider. That's supposed to come out in a couple weeks. But I guess that's the games we've been playing.
Yeah.
Now we had some topics we wanted to discuss. I guess the first one is Elder Scrolls Online. And the Imperials, I guess the Imperial race is going to be considered DLC that's only in the Collector's Edition.
Yeah, I don't think it's really DLC. It's, as far as they've made it appear, the only way you'll be able to play the Imperial race is by buying the Imperial Edition, which I don't know if it's much more expensive, I forget. But I mean, it doesn't even matter. Like the fact that it's a full-priced MMO.
Yeah.
$15 a month sub, and they're putting a race behind a paywall.
Now, is it a $50 or a $60 MMO?
I guess it doesn't matter to me. It's 50
well,
or 60.
I don't know. That's the thing
priced.
about PC games is there's that weird like back and forth.
But if you have a $50+ game and you're charging a monthly sub, and you have the balls to sit here and say, "Oh, by the way, if you don't buy this version."
See, I really hate that approach because where they're coming from is that they realize at this point the only people that are going to be really into their game is a small number of people that are just like diehard Elder Scrolls fans. And so their idea is to make up for the small numbers of people interested in, we're just going to milk them for even more. And it's just, it feels exploitative. Like, it just feels like a bunch of bullshit. Like, I don't know. I'm playing that game this weekend. There's another beta event, and so I'm gonna give it a try for the first time. But right now, it's really looking bleak on whether or not I get it. I will definitely get into it when it goes inevitably free to play. I guarantee you that thing is going to go free to play.
Oh yeah.
Even we will hear about it announced free to play before the end of the year.
That would not surprise me at all.
That's my prediction.
Yeah. Just if this was a free to play game, or if it was a game like Guild Wars, maybe where you buy the game and there's no subscription fee, but there's stuff in game that you can buy. But I think even it's been a while since I played Guild Wars 2. Most of it wasn't like get your character stronger. It was get this cool looking hat.
Yeah, I don't think it was unlocking any content. I think it was all like stuff your character can wear or furniture for your house. Just aesthetic type stuff, accessories. But I'm not that excited about that game. And even though I'm a huge Elder Scrolls fan and I love the lore of that game, I'm upset that they're being so aggressive with their pricing.
Well, and apparently I looked it up while you were talking here. Apparently the Elder Scrolls Online Digital Imperial Edition is going to be $80.
Jeez. So that's $80 and then $15 a month on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, you get other stuff with the Imperial, but just logging a race is just, it doesn't affect me that much because, one, my expectations for Elder Scrolls Online is very low, and two, I don't care about the Imperial race, but it's just the thought that you would do it. Like, if they locked, say, Dark Elves, I would be pissed because I almost certainly am going to play a Dark Elf. So, like, I would be really pissed if they were like, well, you have to buy this extra. Because you know what they're going to probably end up doing is saying, okay, well, you either buy this extra edition or, well, you can unlock it for $5 or $10 or whatever it is, if that's all you want. And that's just such bullshit. Like, it's just gross.
Yeah, I think more and more this year, we're seeing a lot of egregious pricing moves. Just kind of like things that are really souring to me. Like, it's kind of like we're getting less and less, and they're finding ways to trick us out of our money. Like, they're being more deceitful with what they paywall. They're being less forward with how it works. And so when you combine the payment methods or the revenue methods of the old ways, which in this case is monthly MMO, and then with new stuff there's probably going to be like upgrade stuff or whatever. I don't know if there's going to be microtransactions, but it's like they're hiding a race behind a collector's edition. This is unprecedented, right? Like,
as far as I know, there's not been any case where like a class or a race have only been unlockable by buying like a special
usually
edition.
It's like an item or like a mount or something.
You get
like
the mount
that
too, of course, but it's they threw the race in there too, and it just is dirty.
Yeah,
I think ZeniMax has probably got their nasty hands in it because ZeniMax is a shit company.
Well, didn't somebody buy ZeniMax?
I don't know.
Gosh,
they're still shitty. It doesn't matter.
It's true. It's totally true.
That's why Bethesda, I think, is so lawyer happy is all ZeniMax's nonsense. But yeah, like any other combination I'd be okay with. Like if you had to pay again, if it was Guild Wars type where you pay to get the game, but then like there was no monthly sub and there was transactions. Yeah, it's still kind of dirty, but on a race, I can.
It's that they're just pulling off like they're doing everything.
Right, they want to get their cake and they eat it too. They want to have all of
everything.
This. Ooh, and we can charge them for the race. And the sad thing is, according to this article, the deluxe edition is selling better than the standard. So there's people just eating it up.
Are they doing any retail exclusive pre-orders?
God, who knows? Probably.
I can't stand that concept. Man, I feel like you could design like a game that takes advantages of all these things at the same time would be the worst thing ever. Like an MMO that costs $60, $15 a month, that has retail exclusive pre-orders, that hides content behind it, that has microtransactions, that like, I mean, it's
your
all
XP bar sure is going slow.
Yeah.
Buy this XP potion for only $2.99.
Hey, I'd buy this mount. And then when you get the mount, it's like, oh, you want to get tokens to buy that mount in the game? Those tokens only cost you $14. Like,
You've crafted a potion today. You want to craft a second one? Well, it's going to take 24 hours unless you buy this speed booster, which is $5.
I feel like we're getting closer and closer to it's like, we have your loved one hostage. It's like they're just going to come up with worse and worse ways to just blackmail us out of money.
And the thing
Can you
is,
just make a thing that is fun to play and sell us the thing. Like, why you have to employ all this trickery to make more money?
the thing is, well, mobile games is a lot of that. Like, I think the mobile games have shown that people are stupid enough to pay little bits here and there because people don't recognize little bits and pieces here. Like, I remember back at another place we used to work when we worked together. There was this we had the software. You could either buy it by year or you could pay per month. And I think per year it was like $70 or I think it was $60 a year. But you could also buy it for $7 a month. Well, somebody called one of our reps and was like, and she told them both prices. She's like, well, and they're like, well, I don't want to buy the year long. That's too expensive. I'll just do the monthly. And it's like, you realize the monthly is more expensive, right? Yeah. It's like it's $80-something versus the 60 or 70 per year. And the guy was like, oh. It's like that really made me dawn on me that, wow, like people don't, the nickel and diming thing works. It absolutely works. Oh, it's just $1. It's just $2. It doesn't matter. And they don't look at like, oh, wow, I spent $70 on this game this month.
There's still probably a huge number of people that have monthly Xbox Live subscriptions. Like, and that one's even crazier because it's like $7 a month regular price. But if you look, you can find one on sale for like $35.
Yeah. And
it's like, that's like almost a third of the price if you pay $7 a month. But there's still people that do it. It's like, automatic.
Yeah, people just don't look at things. They look at the small picture and companies are making money hand over fist.
But I feel like there's a lot of people that are in the games industry now that their sole purpose for existence is revenue optimization. Yeah. And that the game industry didn't have those kind of people in it, 10 years ago. Like, or maybe there was way less. There was probably people that did that. But it's like, now you have, they're employing economists to do this stuff.
And I feel like there's probably people back then who maybe some of this stuff came up and they're like, oh God, no, that won't work. And that's kind of scummy. And now they're like, nah, let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Dungeon Keeper, the new iOS thing is another just great example of total scumbaggery where if you're not familiar, they've completely bastardized the wonderful old game Dungeon Keeper and Dungeon Keeper 2 into this shitty iOS game where, like, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard from multiple sources which I trust that basically they're constantly throwing these gems that you can buy in your face, like everywhere. It's like, buy gems to make this go faster, buy gems to skip this step. And like the worst is where you have to, I'm not going to get into Dungeon Keeper in detail because if you don't know how Dungeon Keeper works, you're a bad person. But you have to dig through these blocks to get to certain areas of your dungeon. Well, some of them are like really hard to dig. So they take 24 real hours to dig through just one of these blocks. Well, you can buy gems. Yeah, and you can buy these gems, and it's like $3 worth of gems to open like one block instantly. And there's lots of these blocks. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Did you hear about the Android rating thing? So if you go, it asks like, how do you like Dungeon Keeper? And if you select 5 stars, it lets you go to the Google Play Store where you can put 5 stars. If you select anything else, it takes you to their support forums, and they don't let you rate it.
Oh, wow.
So it's like they're only allowing people to rate it on Google Play that agree to like 5 stars.
Well, that would probably be in the app, though.
Right. That's what I
Yeah,
mean.
it's still dirty. I mean, because you can still bypass it and just go to the store, but yeah, that's
you can
still
tell it
dirty.
that you're going to do 5 stars, go to Google Play, and then do 1 star.
Right.
But it's like, that's just...
It's still dirty.
Scummy. It's just super scumbaggy. I don't know. Like, I want nothing to do with that. But the sad thing is, I bet you it's going to do well. I bet you it's going to make money. Like,
yeah, that's the thing is, like, EA is going to get all this bad press again, and they currently are. They're getting holy shit on. It doesn't matter.
No,
they
because
do not care.
The kind of people that listen to this podcast aren't going to be the kind of people that they're going to be making. Like, they're going to be making money from a ton of people who just see it a game, download the game. Oh, okay, let me try this out, and they're just like dollar.
That's the only money. That's the only language they understand. As long as it's making money, they don't give a shit. What's going to happen is if it starts to lose money or it's not making as much money as they want, they'll say, you know what, we've listened to you guys and we've decided that, you know, this isn't right. This isn't working. But the real reason is it wasn't making enough money. Yeah. It's like the season pass thing. You know, there was financial reasons behind that. They didn't suddenly get this pang of guilt that they were being douchebags. Mm-hmm. It was, they didn't think they were making enough money for it. So they try to use it as a PR move. It's like, well, we've decided that the season pass thing is just not right, so we're banning. But then they turn around and do this bullshit. Mm-hmm. So you know damn good and well they didn't have a change of heart suddenly.
But what's interesting to me is that they don't seem to value their image at all.
They don't, because they don't care. Are they still making money? Yes. Do they so?
I think, though, it's going to reach a tipping point where it's like, after a while, the EA name is going to get so tarnished. It's like...
But they don't care. Like, the people at the top don't care because it's all about right now.
Care when people.
That's when they pull the golden parachute and they jump out. Yeah. They don't care. I mean, as long as they can keep the ship going long enough to get their bonuses, to get the money they want, as soon as the ship starts to sink, they're just going to go, see you guys, good luck, hop on their lifeboat.
So this is a fundamental problem with American corporate culture.
Yes. Right, exactly, because they're going to hop on the lifeboat, hop on over to the next company. Look at that shithead who was the head of my Xbox. What's his face?
How do I
say his name? I forgot his name. He like fucked up the Xbox stuff. It's like, well, good luck, guys. I'm going to jump over here to... Not Bomber. Not Bomber. Oh, okay. The other guy. The one who was like... when the online thing was still going to be in the Xbox, it was oh, we have a system for you. You can get the 360.
Yeah, he's a bird to everybody. It's like, thank you.
He didn't care. Like, he doesn't give a shit. And he jumped to some... Did he jump to EA, was it?
Probably.
He jumped to some other company. He doesn't give a shit. That's the mentality of these executives. They're not in it for the long haul.
But did you hear about the guy who retired from GM as the CEO? And in his retirement, he makes more money than the female CEO that replaced him. It's like, it's crazy. Like, he no longer works there, but because of the incentive program,
right,
he's making $4.8 billion this year, or million.
Yeah, I was gonna say billions.
Sorry,
pretty insane.
He's making $4.8 million.
Only $4.8 million. Now that's
his retirement. You know, he had to take a pay cut because he was making $7 million. But it's like, it's so crazy. Like, I don't know. We could quickly and easily get out of the realm of video games with that discussion, because that is, I feel like,
that is an American
economic issue.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely one of those things that's going to hurt us in the long term. Yeah. But the people that can change it don't want it changed because they're using it to their advantage.
Yeah.
And I hate to sound like the total goddamn hipster sitting in the Starbucks and talking about the mans keeping us down.
The man.
But like it happens. But and you look at, I mean, Nintendo, we've had plenty of bad things to say about Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
But you know, he took I totally forgot his name just now.
Satoru Iwata.
Was it?
You're talking about Nintendo?
Yeah, was it Iwata?
He's the guy that took the pay cut, right?
Yeah, him and like a lot of the top brass took a serious pay cut. He took half pay cut.
Yeah,
like that would never happen in America.
No. And he isn't making by percentage. He's not making this ridiculous much more. So he's going from that and then half of that. But yeah,
and this is a common thing in Japan apparently. Because when it came out, people were like, "Yeah, this happens in Japan."
Well, when Final Fantasy XIV, the first version of it came out, and it was terrible. There was huge. There was people taking tons of pay cuts. There was this apology. Or do you remember when PlayStation Network got hacked? Do you remember the 1 minute long bow by?
Oh, I think I do remember that. I
who
think
was
it was
that?
something like that.
It was a Japanese executive who bowed in front of the press for like 60 seconds.
That sort of stuff never happens in America.
And it was just like, yeah, it's just interesting, the huge cultural divide, because like in a way, like they're way more humble, but they're way more stubborn in some of their practices.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely not perfect.
Yeah,
but in this area,
an American corporate
America.
is way more flexible, but way more exploitative too.
Yeah,
and so it's like you'd wish you could find like some sort of medium between those two.
Yeah, like
there's huge pros and huge cons there. But
yeah, it's definitely something I think. I mean, can you imagine the heads of Microsoft or the heads of Apple or the heads of any major corporation taking a major pay cut because the company did really poorly?
No.
Like, it just would not, like, the idea would get people would look at you like you have lobsters crawling out of your ears.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's the thing. It's like a lot of these people, when they bail and they get out of that company, they make more money than people do in their lives. Like,
well, I set the fires.
Yep.
Please give me my check. I'm gonna go fuck up another company.
And it's so easy to get worked up about that stuff too.
Yeah,
it's so unjust.
It is very sickening to say the least. And you know, every time EA, going back to them, every time you think they're kind of turning around, they do shit like this.
Yeah.
Especially with the Dungeon Keeper brand, a brand I absolutely love, by a company that I absolutely loved, Bullfrog. And it's just, I guess it makes me nerd angry. It makes me nerd angry.
And that's the crazy thing, is because this has a mainstream appeal. No matter how mad and like public the scorn of gamers is, like it's probably going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, like, and I hate people who pay money. If you are listening to this and you're paying money,
you're a bad person.
I hate you. Like I literally hate you right now.
You're part of the problem.
Yes, you are part of the problem. It's like these people who, I'm going to boycott this game. I'm going to boycott this game.
When you step back, though, we are getting this worked up about a mobile game. I mean,
I do hate you, though. I want to be 100% clear with a moment of seriousness. I hate your guts.
You know, but don't worry, listener. It doesn't take a lot to be hated by Johnny.
It doesn't. Let's be honest. I hate a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I completely lost my train of thought. But the problem is, like, even the people who should know better, who boycott games or they hate this behavior or whatever, and then they turn around and buy the game. It's like, they don't care how often you tweet at them. They don't care how many forum posts you make or Facebook posts you make. They don't care about any of that shit. What matters is you gave them money.
Yeah.
That's what it all boils down. When you give them money, everything else you say doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. You can piss and moan all you want. It's like the people who bought SimCity after we knew the online thing. I can't think of any people like that who might be sitting at this table.
You can't see it right now, but I'm bowing. I'm just a minute-long bow right now.
I mean,
so sorry.
I mean, that's not to say I am without my sins. I bought Diablo 3. I knew it was online.
Hey, I think they're going to fix Diablo 3.
I'm
going to buy the expansion.
I do think they are honestly going to try to fix it. The things that they've said sound like, okay, these were the problems I had. If you fix it, then we're good. Did they say they were taking online crap off or no?
Yeah, no more auction house.
Well, right, that. But did they say like you could play totally offline though? I don't know if they've said that.
Oh, I don't know if they've said that.
That would be the one sticking point.
Yeah, that would be pretty important.
That'd be the sticking point. But the auction house and the whole loot thing was the main problem. And the auction house, I don't feel, and this is going to sound crazy, I don't think that was just a greed thing. Obviously, the money, buying items and stuff. But the auction house, one of those things, it sounds like a good idea, right? One of the main problems in Diablo was trying to trade with other people, and it was a really hokey process, and it just felt kludgy. So it's like, all right, we're going to streamline that and put it in an auction house. There you can trade items. Very much easier. Well, the unintended side effect was that 99% of the gear you use, you bought from the auction house. Yeah. And one of the main reasons you play Diablo is to get loot.
Yeah.
So it ended up like...
So it became like, you were like every 5 levels you just went shopping.
Right.
And that wasn't that fun.
And I'm not really venomous towards Blizzard for that, because I think that was a thing that on paper looked good and just in practice it didn't work out well.
Yeah.
And obviously there was other problems with the game, but I think that was one of my underlying issues. And again, I'm not not angry at them about it. Like with EA, where they're just obviously trying to squeeze out, and Blizzard has their own problems. God
well,
knows.
a lot of that is because they're not owned by Activision, so they can't.
Yeah.
You never know at what point an idea comes from Blizzard or if an idea comes from Activision. Because generally, if an idea is coming, well, this is my opinion, but if an idea is coming from Blizzard, I really feel like they do care about the quality of the game.
Yeah.
But if an idea is coming from Activision, they care solely for the revenue of a game.
Right.
And
right.
they're somewhere in the middle. Is there probably an endless amount of corporate discussions like going on between those two?
And I would really hate to be the people at Blizzard who have to deal with the people at Activision who do care.
Yeah.
And they have to like walk the line between trying to make the Activision people happy, but still trying to make a quality game that doesn't feel like it's trying to
It's
wring
gotta be
people
so
from the
exhausting.
It
just
has to be. Yeah.
Constantly have to fight for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we all like hate on this company or this, but there are people at Blizzard, there are people at EA doing these games, the developers and even the managers or whatever who want to make a good game, but then they see this crap coming down the pipe and they're like, oh God, It's like, I hate making this unholy abortion of a game, but I've got a wife and 2 kids to feed, or a husband and 2 kids to feed. It's like you have to do it. And a lot of them are too scared to go and do the indie thing because, people like to point out the Minecrafts and the other successful games, the Super Meat Boys. But for every successful indie game, there's 100 that never go anywhere. Mm-hmm. So, it's a big risk, and especially when you have a family, and even if you've got bills to pay, it's a big deal to say, I want to quit my job and work on this indie game or whatever. So it's not so easy. So I feel bad for them too, having to work in a culture where it's just like, yeah, that's great. How much money can you make on this? How can we squeeze our customers for another dollar? So I do feel, it's sucky for them, but I guess kind of concluding on our little nerd rant.
Yeah. The rage.
The
Dungeon Keeper.
The Elder Scrolls Online thing, the Imperials, it's just dirty. Like,
yeah.
I've played the beta and there's an NDA, and we discussed this briefly before we started the podcast about
we have to
how
make
much we wanted to honor the NDA.
Yep.
I will say that I think the NDA is stupid.
Yeah.
I think it's dumb to have one at this point in the game where it's getting pretty close to release.
Mm-hmm.
I think it paints a bad picture because the people who want to talk bad about your game are going to talk bad about your game in Twitter, in person, Facebook, whatever. They don't care. The people who want to talk good about it are going to feel restricted because they're afraid, ooh, what if I get caught saying anything about it, and I get blocked? And that's the way it usually happens. Negative info flies like crazy. Positive is harder to find. It's the way it usually works if you have NDA. So I think it's dumb to have one. But it is there, so I'm going to mostly respect it. But what I will say is that I had low expectations of this game going in. And when I finished my beta weekend, my expectations were about where they were before.
Yeah.
They did not change.
Just between the fact that there's this pricing stuff going on and the fact that it doesn't seem all that revolutionary. It seems like the game we've played before several times. Right click on the glowy and get 5 of them or whatever. I don't know. I haven't played it, so
but he's going to play it this weekend. He can not talk about it on the.
I can say anything I want right now, but in a couple days I'm not going to be able to have an opinion about it. But to me, it doesn't look that impressive, and I'm probably going to wait until it's free to play.
Yeah, and I mean, I can even say from the stuff that, not even including what I've played, I wasn't impressed before I ever played it. Like, I really felt like they were going to try to make this like, what does WoW do?
Yeah,
let's do that. And so I really not really expecting much from the game. So I guess if it was a bigger game, like if it was WildStar Online, which I'm really interested in, if this stuff started leaking about, well, not leaking, but coming out about WildStar, I would be more disappointed.
Yeah.
But with this, I'm kind of like, this is really lame.
Yeah.
But and I'll probably play it at release because I like to play most MMOs at release. But I don't think it'll be something that pulls me in. I probably will.
It's just, I feel like it's just so much money to spend on something you're probably not going to enjoy.
I would probably enjoy it up until the point. I would probably get my money out of it. I would probably get my first month. Like the same with Final Fantasy. I bought it and played it like, 1, maybe 2 months?
Yeah.
The reboot. And I enjoyed it. And honestly, the only reason I stopped playing it is because the channel. I'm trying to do other stuff, and that takes a lot of time. But I feel like I got my playtime out of it. I got a lot of playtime, and I played various classes and did a bunch of stuff. And I feel I still would have done it again, I guess is what I'm saying. And that probably will have with Elder Scrolls Online. And with my channel, too, I do MMOs in particular. I try to keep up with them. I try to at least play them so that I speak from a knowledgeable standpoint. Because MMOs, this is a genre that I like. Even though I don't play them much, it's a genre I really like. So I'll probably play it. Probably do something for the channel. Probably do some streaming. But I don't expect it to really suck me in. But part of that, to be fair, is I don't know if I can really be sucked into an MMO anymore. Like I don't. Yeah. They're fun to play for 1, 2, 3 months, but I don't really get that like, oh, I've got to play this every single day.
Now, do you see yourself getting back into WoW with the next expansion, or are you kind of done with MMOs completely?
I'll probably try it at some point. I think what they're doing is interesting. Going back, because I'm kind of interested in the Warcraft lore. They've totally butchered it, but
what are you talking about, man? The pandas were
the pandas. Great. You know what? The panda stuff doesn't bother me because the Pandaria hasn't been there for a while. So, and what I really thought was funny when people thought they were stealing Pandarians, they thought they were copying Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah,
that was hilarious. It's like, you've not been paying attention, have you? But yeah, that doesn't bother me that much. It's just I even got the urge to resubscribe to WoW.
I saw that
recently. But again, I just want to play it. Like I just want to fiddle around, do some dungeons, level a monk or some low level character. I'll play it a month and I'll be good. I'll be glad I spent the $15 to play it. But I just don't see me getting sucked into it. So yeah, that's really unfortunate news, and I'm afraid it's not just the Imperial thing. I'm afraid it's a taste of what's to come. I'm afraid they're gonna do it, and they've tried to defend this and say, "Oh well, the Imperials aren't like significantly more powerful than other races." It doesn't matter. People usually want to play a race. Your general person wants to play a race because they think that race is cool, not because it has these powers. Obviously, your min-maxers do, but I think it's safe to say those are the minority. I think most people want to just play, this is a cool race, like me and Dark Elves. I love Dark Elves. So I want to play a Dark Elf. Is it bad for the class that I'm making? I don't give a damn. It's an Dark Elf. I want to play a Dark Elf.
Well, I feel like with Elder Scrolls Online, there is culture and history associated with a race more than a brand new MMO. Like, if you've played other Elder Scrolls games, you might identify with the history and culture of something.
Right, and that is another angle of it, is that it's not power. Their defense was, well, you're not going to be, people who choose Imperial or get to play Imperial aren't going to be more powerful than if you play Dark Elf or Argonian or
Good, that's not the way it should be.
But my point is, who cares? That's not the point.
Yeah.
People want to play the race because they want to play that race, because they like Imperials, or they've got this character built up in their mind.
It's content that was traditionally part of the base release that you're now holding back.
Right.
And that you're now breaking established convention by slicing it up in a way that hasn't been sliced up.
Right. And if it was a deal, and not to say EverQuest 2's free to play system is very good, but if their system was a free to play where you get these races for free, like human, half elf, whatever they are. It's like, well, if you want to play an Ixar, you can unlock it for, $2, period. It's like, okay, I can live with that. Like, it's free to play game. I'll pay $2 to play a race I want to play. No problem. But it's just the whole charging the full price plus a monthly, like you're getting a full game when you're really not. I think that's the big takeaway is you feel like you're paying big boy prices. You're paying price for a full game. And they're like, well, we'll give you most of it. But if you want this, it's going to cost you extra. I think that's when it starts to feel dirty.
Yeah, I feel like it's just erodes the value of it. And speaking of another thing that's value has been eroded, it was released.
These segues.
Yes, it's brilliant segues. When you call them out, they're no longer good. But it came out that the expected length for the upcoming Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes release is going to be about 2 hours.
And to clarify, because I had to actually read up on this to understand it. Basically, you have Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes, and you have Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Mm-hmm. Ground Zeroes is like a prologue to The Phantom Pain. The Phantom Pain is going to be the full game.
It is going to be Metal Gear Solid 5 proper. I think the problem is they call them both Metal Gear Solid 5.
Right.
And this upcoming game is a prologue, and I don't know. It seems like a very Japanese way to slice up games because they've done it with Gran Turismo 5 prologue and then Gran Turismo 5. Like they made an early prologue version of it. But I guess to me the big problem with that is pricing because it's going to be $30 for previous gen consoles and it's going to be $40 for current gen.
I think it's 30 and 20, isn't it?
No, it's 30 and 40.
Really? Okay, wow.
Yes. Yeah. So it's going to be $40 for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One and $30 for... And notice I said previous gen and current gen because it's no longer a next gen system, folks. Yeah, people are still saying next gen, and I just want to be like, it's current gen.
Right, yeah. But they're out now.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, people always bring up the debate over, should you evaluate a game's worth based on how long it takes to complete it? But at the end of the day, I think that is a variable in the equation of value and whether or not you should buy it.
It's funny to me to hear all this squabbling because I feel like if you're one of those people who were Gone Home was the biggest offender to this, was defending Gone Home violently because it's a 2-hour game that costs $20. So many people were like, it doesn't matter what the price is because the game was so amazing, so it doesn't really factor in and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I better not hear a damn word out of the people who were defending Gone Home for just a price point to slam Ground Zeroes. Because I think length is a variable, and I think it's an important variable in the overall price. Now, if the game is absolutely amazing and it's only 2 hours and it costs me $20, then because it's so amazing, that variable, that the experience variable, overweighed the how long it took to play, right? So if a game was mediocre and was 50 hours, it was only $50 or $50. But it's 50 hours, but it was very mediocre, then it's not really a great proposition anymore, right? Because the entertainment wasn't there. So I feel like too many people were just saying time just doesn't matter.
Yeah,
period.
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter.
That's exactly why I chose that word, so that it's an equation in the variable of value. And so that it is one aspect of it. And I'm not going to say, it's dumb to say that it's the be-all, end-all measurement of a game.
Right.
And to be devil's advocate a little bit, for Gone Home, I didn't buy Gone Home for full price. I thought that was, value is a personal thing. It's subjective. Yeah. To me, Gone Home wasn't valued at $20 to me. So I just waited till it went on sale. But I will say that I felt Gone Home made more of an artistic or intelligent statement than I expect Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes to make. I don't expect to draw some of the same emotional and artistic conclusions from Metal Gear Solid 5 than it did from Gone Home.
But being Kojima, he very much preys on not preys on, it's not the right word. He very much pushes the emotional impact and stuff. And
it's always super cheesy and dumb. Yeah. Like
I'm not saying
I'm
not saying it will.
Yes,
I'm saying
I'm basing it on Metal Gear Solid expectations.
Right.
And I've played I've played them all but 4, and I understand like I have expectations for that game. And so that's but at the same time I do also expect to have fun with the actual mechanics of the game.
Right. Yeah.
And playing the game. And, in the equation of value of Gone Home and Metal Gear Solid 5, we're still talking about double the price, $40, and for $2 hours. And that's, in order to make that equation balanced again, it would have to be an amazing experience for that to be worthwhile for me.
Right.
And it also is $30 digitally. That might be.
I think that's probably what I'm thinking.
So $30 digital.
Who buys
$40 physical?
What cavemen are riding in their dino cars down to the game
Sometimes
store?
I do.
Kicking the car with your feet, and then
sometimes you get better deals.
Do you stop and get a dino burger on the way home?
You get better deals physical sometimes. I just buy whatever's cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I agree there. If it was cheaper with physical, then I'd probably do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's good they're starting to do that instead of trying to charge the same for both. They try to kind of push you to digital so they can jack it back up again once physical's gone.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean that's my big thing is I want to like smack the shit out of the people who said the time doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, that's pretty dumb. That's just I can see how you can say to some people it matters too much. Like if somebody was just like immediately like dismissing it, it's like, but yeah, to say it doesn't matter is stupid because ultimately, like, if you played the most amazing game, like you had a lot of fun with a game for 15 minutes and it cost you $4,000, like,
yeah,
that that matters. Like, you're not fooling anybody. Like, it's not like people act like. I think the people that say it doesn't matter at all are trying to make a statement about artistic expression.
Yes.
And that they're saying, oh, well, if you are if it is good art, you can't put a price on art,
Right, exactly.
But it's like, that's so pretentious. Like,
yes.
Because we're not in this hobby for art, right? I mean, the thing is, and I'm a big advocate of pushing the artistic ability of the medium. Like, I believe that games can do a much better job of being artistic. But to automatically think we're graduated to this high art realm where, they can afford like whatever money, they're priceless pieces of art. It's like, come on, you gotta walk before you can run. And even then, I don't want to be there. Like, I don't want this, the people that collect paintings and they have this stifled view of artistic expression and everything. It's like, I don't ever want games to be there. Like, ultimately, games can be a perfect combination of experience and like the joy of problem solving, but they can also be a good medium for making you think and feel, through a narrative.
Yeah, and I think Brothers was a pretty decent combo of that.
Yeah,
I think it was a little bit too far on the art side because I think the puzzles felt a little weak, but it wasn't a bad game by any stretch. I still enjoyed it as a pretty unemotional person, but I still like understand what they were going for, and I think they did it in a way without sacrificing gameplay a lot. Yeah. I think too often it goes too far the other way. Like Gone Home, I really like the investigative aspects. Like you're trying to put the pieces together in your head, but the main parts of the main story were like told to you anyway. So there wasn't a whole lot of investigation. It just flat out told you. And the main story itself was pretty bland and generic. But it was more interested in the side story that were going on, like the dad and the uncle and stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, the main thing is, I think a game's value is a lot of things. There's too many people who say stupid things like, oh, well, graphics don't matter at all. That's nonsense. Like, part of why I love Tomb Raider was because it looked phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Now, if the graphics were like 90s era, I would have still enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed it maybe a little less, but the graphics looking so incredibly good, I was constantly in awe. Like, I would step somewhere and like there's a storm blowing and her hair is blowing and there's like, trees are swaying and you can see the rain, going sideways and shutters are banging left and right. And the whole overall visual and audio experience was just like, whoa, like this is amazing. Like, I love this. And if the gameplay would have sucked, and granted the first hour were pretty crappy, so, that notwithstanding, if the gameplay would have sucked, I wouldn't have enjoyed it. Well, it's a beautiful game, but it was boring. Yeah. But it added to my overall enjoyment. Same with The Witcher 2. Like, the game looks incredible, and that added to my enjoyment. So to say graphics don't matter at all, I think is incredibly silly.
Yeah.
But it's not the end-all, be-all. And almost the only thing that I say is the end-all, be-all is probably gameplay. Like, if the gameplay is really good, everything else can be pretty bad, but I might still enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like sometimes, like, a game that that you might consider have very weak gameplay, I would consider that the interaction with that piece or, that game is more abstracted in your brain anyway. Like, with Walking Dead and Gone Home are good examples of very low interaction but quality storytelling. And I feel like a lot of the storytelling is in decisions of, basically, in Walking Dead you make decisions and they're terrible decisions. Like this sucks,
Yeah.
and it's like there's a point to that in that when you're thinking about something, that is your mental interaction with the game, and you have to interact and make choices. And when you are stuck in those positions where you have to make terrible choices in a matter of seconds, you get a different revelation of empathy for these characters than you would through a film or a book.
Well,
because when you're watching a movie or reading a book, it doesn't matter if you stop reading or if you put it down. That story's already been told. Whereas you're experiencing a story that you are involved with, even if it's not like, shoot these characters or press the button at the right time kind of a thing. You're still interacting with that story in a different way.
Well, to be clear, I'm saying that because I do think that the gameplay, particularly in Walking Dead, was, let's just be honest, it was just flat out bad. Well, maybe not bad, but
if there was no
bland,
story,
insanely.
If there was no story, you wouldn't play that game.
Exactly.
Like,
if you blanked
dumb.
out all the words and everything going on, and you just limited it to aiming and shooting the zombies, or walking along the tractor as it moves along to avoid being shot, it'd be very boring. What I'm saying is, I think if everything else is bad, but the gameplay is good, the game is good. As far as I'm concerned, if the gameplay is really good, because the gameplay modifier has the biggest contribution. However, you can have a game that has bland or maybe even bad gameplay, but the other parts, in particular the story, are so good, I could say, well, I would still enjoy playing this. Like the new I see is like years ago, the Alice Madness Returns. Like, I will concede that I really like that game, but I will concede that the gameplay is kind of meh for most people, but everything else was so good, it kind of pulled the entire game up for me.
Yeah.
But I guess, again, what I'm saying is
No,
gameplay is the only thing where everything else can be bad, and I will still probably like it. But and of course, exception being, with Walking Dead, pretty much the only thing that brought that one up was, well, I guess you could say story, the voice acting, all that kind of combined brought that one up. But gameplay, I think, does trump all overall. But of course,
that makes sense.
Overall, there are exceptions. Like,
that makes sense, because ultimately we are playing games.
Right.
So it's like, that makes sense. But, we talked about this fabled equation so long. I think we need to go ahead and start cracking the equation. And we need to just you plug in the variables of any given game, and it'll tell you whether you should buy it or not.
Yeah, just give it to Peter Molyneux, Derek Smart, Brad McQuaid, George Broussard.
They'll come up with the equation for that.
Derek Smart actually has a game coming out.
Really?
Yeah. I did not even know he was still in the scene, but apparently I saw an email.
Do you know any other details, or?
I forget what the game's called. I'm a bad podcaster, I guess, but yeah.
You brought up a topic and you have no info.
I know.
I heard tomorrow it was gonna have some weather.
Yeah,
there's gonna be some weather tomorrow. I don't know if it's gonna be good or bad, but
it's gonna be something.
It'll be something. Yeah.
But look it up. Derek Smart. Just Google him. But
I think we have one more piece of news we want to discuss this week, and that is that Amazon has acquired Double Helix Games.
Yes,
and that is a pretty
I've heard
interesting acquisition because, well, first of all, Amazon Games, or I guess the studio of Amazon that acquired all the talent and intellectual property of Double Helix. Historically, the only games they've made have been games for the Kindle, just kind of tablet games, really casual stuff. They made what was that? It's like an Airport Mania HD, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was, made by somebody else originally. Anyway, the weird thing about it is also that Double Helix are the people that make Killer Instinct. So, Killer Instinct was this big, super exclusive fighting game for Xbox One that was intended to have a very long development life because they wanted it to be a competitive fighting game that was played at a lot of tournaments. And so you knew that Double Helix was poised to work on this thing for at least a couple years. And Microsoft wanted them to do that. And so then Amazon buys them. And Microsoft released a statement either today or yesterday. And it was basically, yeah, Double Helix isn't going to be making Killer Instinct anymore. So somebody else is going to make Killer Instinct. So I'm sure that's going to be that transition's going to be rocky for a little while. Probably they're just going to absorb it into Microsoft Game Studios somehow.
Well, as a kind of a history on Double Helix, I happen to know this. I definitely did not just look it up on Wikipedia. But they made Silent Hill Homecoming, which I don't think that one got great reviews.
They've not made anything good but Killer Instinct. I'll save you time.
Yeah, looking through this list, they made the Battleship game, which I've heard was atrocious. And they're making the Strider game.
Yeah, they're making the Strider game, which comes out in a week and a half, I think. So the interesting thing is that in the past, they've never made any good games. And when they announced they're going to make Killer Instinct, everybody groaned. Like, okay, we don't want another Killer Instinct. Like, Double Helix is going to suck. Everybody thought. And it surprised everybody because it was really good.
Yeah.
And then from what I've been seeing in previews, Strider looks like it's going to be really good. So right at this moment when Double Helix was starting to make really good games, Amazon bought them.
Yeah, and I think this only spells disaster for Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say it's impossible, but I just cannot see another studio just completely picking up a game and it going well. Especially if something like a fighting game.
Yeah, exactly. They had an uphill battle to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have a hard time convincing people. And it's not to say like it's hard. It seems like everything's fine right now. But to be honest, I don't think it's going to have the staying power to be taken seriously in tournaments for that long. And with this happening, I don't see the transition being very stable. And so, the fighting game community is not very merciful when it comes to games not getting the updates they need.
Right.
So I see a situation where characters are going to be overpowered or going to be too weak in some areas, and people are going to get impatient with waiting for them to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Because during this transition period, I don't see them being able to get any patch out for months.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to make some kind of deal with Double Helix / Amazon and say, look, for this first 6 months of this transition, you'll be responsible for updates and all this while we kind of pick it up. Like, maybe they'll do something like that. Who knows? Yeah, I can't just imagine them saying, oh, well, here's the keys.
It seems like a legal nightmare because I don't know what the contractual obligations that Double Helix had towards Microsoft mean when they're acquired by another company. Because, I'm
sure there was some kind of provisions in there.
Yeah, there have to be. But Microsoft clearly doesn't want an Amazon-owned working on Killer Instinct. I mean, at least from the standpoint that they've already made a public statement that they won't be working on it. So if they said specifically that they're not working on it now, it's like Microsoft doesn't want anything to do with that. And so it seems like Microsoft is the one that basically terminated that end of the contract.
But I have to think, if they have somebody with half a brain, surely... I mean, I just can't imagine them saying, well, okay, well then, you guys get the hell out of here. On, again, something like a fighting game, I would think, like, okay, well, you help us transition for the first 3, 4, 5 months, whatever. Mm-hmm. I just can't imagine it would just be stupid to say, well, we'll take it from here. We're fine. We got this. Like,
yeah, but it seems like that's what they're doing, and I don't understand why. And it also makes you wonder, what is Amazon playing at? Like,
yeah,
I don't see them getting Double Helix so that they can make more tablet games. Like, it seems like if they want specifically Double Helix, they're either going to want to make PC games or their own console.
Well, don't forget, they've got the Kindle Fire thing going on.
Yeah,
so
but
maybe they're...
Why would you spend all that money for a studio to make...
exclusive Kindle Fire only games?
Yeah. What exclusive Kindle Fire game could you make that is going to make people excited for the Kindle Fire? Like,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just... It seems like one of those crazy shot in the darks. Like,
if they wanted to go down that route, they would have bought a really successful iOS.
That would have cost
developer.
them a whole lot more money, though.
Double Helix cost them a whole lot of money. This is like Double Helix's value went way up when they shipped Killer Instinct, and it was good. Like, unless they negotiated this a long time ago, and they got I mean, this negotiation must have been going on for at least months.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
it seems to me that Amazon wants to make a non-tablet game. That's my prediction, and I don't know if it's going to be on. If it's going to be on a console, if it's going to be on PC, I think it's a non-tablet game. I think they might even be making like some sort of cheap Ouya type thing.
I have a hard time.
Ouya did not fail because of its concept, in my opinion. It failed because it sucked.
Neither the controller in particular.
The controller, the OS, the shoddiness of the product. If you made a really good product for $100 that had at least a few good games on it, I think that could work. And especially if Amazon basically made their Roku whatever, it would be a streaming box that would have Amazon Prime, and it'd have all the Amazon music, and it'd have the Amazon games. And I think
one free year Prime if you buy their game console.
Yeah, I totally see that, because Amazon is all about low margins, and there's room in the sector in games for low margin games, in that they can make a really cheap device that it isn't super powerful, but it's like you could make something way more powerful than a Wii at this point for less than $100, and you could still make good games with that well, even way better, probably Wii U. You could probably make something on par with a Wii U for that cheap.
I don't know about $100, but
yeah,
I mean, obviously excluding the tablet part.
Okay, Xbox 360. You
Okay,
could make an Xbox 360
go,
type thing for $100, and
if you're just playing like mobile Android games on it, it can't possibly be.
But that's the thing: no mobile games, like actual controller games. But that's another thing that Ouya's concept was dumb about. It's like, I don't want to play games that were made for a touchscreen on my TV.
But then, I mean, so now they've got their own OS that they have to develop for?
They already have to do that with Roku. It's just adding GPU libraries to it.
But wait, do you get games on Roku? Like real games?
They have games on Roku.
Yeah, but does anybody actually? Yeah, that's
no.
my
But
point.
I'm saying it's iterative. It's not as like huge of a leap as you might think. And on top of that, I know, don't ask me how I know, but I know that Amazon's game studios has been beefing up. They've been hiring people.
Yeah,
they have been going on like a big hiring boom to beef up that studio, and so I know that they've been working on some new APIs for they have the Amazon Game Circle APIs, which are just like for microtransactions and coins and stuff. But I know that they're working on something new that's supposed to tie together like identity and achievements and all that stuff.
I don't know. I have a hard time picturing them getting a console.
I don't think it's going to be anything to set the world on fire, but
it'll be something like, hey, stream your Amazon stuff through this and your music, and oh, by the way, you can play some games on it.
Yeah.
But is that worth buying Double Helix?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Double Helix is one of those studios that could do a lot of they could make kind of like new versions of classic games. But the thing is, what really matters in that is the license. Double Helix doesn't own licenses to anything.
Yeah, so why spend all that money if Double Helix was that expensive? Why spend that money on them when they could have bought 100 other small development houses?
Where's Double Helix based? Are they in Washington?
I'm thinking in my brain and not looking on Wikipedia. It says Irvine, California.
Okay.
75 employees.
So that's interesting. I don't think there's any Amazon offices in Irvine. So it's like that means it wasn't just like hey, it'd be easy for us to get all that talent because they're local, like that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But the fact that no one's local and they, I'm wondering if they're going to basically make Irvine where Amazon Games is now. Because Amazon does have a games division specifically for, their tablet stuff and for also how they sell PC games on the storefront.
Yeah.
That all is under Amazon Games. But I don't know, man. It's just weird. It's just a head scratcher. All the all the factors that go into it. It's like, why is this happening?
What console is the Strider coming out on?
PS3, Xbox 360, PS4.
So it's not coming on Xbox One.
I don't think so. It might be. But another interesting thing about the whole Double Helix thing is this wasn't an announcement. It leaked, and Amazon confirmed it.
Oh, really?
So Amazon wasn't ready to talk about it.
It is coming on Xbox One and Windows.
Okay.
Windows too.
Okay. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Windows. Comes out on the PlayStation Store a day before the other ones.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that comes out the 18th, I believe.
Of this month?
Mm-hmm.
And some games, man, you really think you're on top of it.
They should have been... Well, actually, they did a lot of previews for it. You have no excuse for not knowing about it.
I know. I probably don't. I don't. Like, all these other weird games I hear about, and then there's these major ones like Strider. I'm like, what? They're making a new Strider? Which, actually, I don't think I played the old one.
The arcade one?
NES
the
one?
NES one? Or the Genesis one?
NES one. I don't think...
Okay. I never did
play I had heard of it,
one.
but I hadn't played it. I'm about to watch a speed run of it today or something.
Yeah. It's weird how... Okay, there are now 4 games called Strider. Okay, Strider for the arcades, Strider for the NES, Strider for the Genesis, Strider that's coming out in a week and a half. But they're all so different. Like,
oh, really?
The arcade game was just like a side-scroller action type
What is
game.
this one going to be?
It's going to be kind of like, it's an action platformer like Metroidvania kind of a thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Side-scrolling platform is what it has.
Which, by the way, I wanted to say that, let's see, today is the 8th. Tomorrow, Saturday, February 9th, will be the 10-year anniversary of the last 2D Metroid that came out. So Nintendo, please, get on the ball and make me another freaking 2D Metroid.
Do you think that now that Iwata has taken a pay cut, and a lot of them have taken a pay cut, do you think, because somebody mentioned that this has happened before, specifically with Iwata, and shortly thereafter, they did some major changes and they got back into profitability. Whether it was coincidence or not, who knows? But do you think maybe this will be a wake up call so that maybe he'll be more opening to listening to, okay, here's where you guys keep screwing up?
I don't know. I feel like it's hard to say because I really think that the reason Nintendo did turn a corner back then when they came out with the Wii, because the thing is, things weren't going well for the GameCube. Like, it was a fun system, there was games to play on it, but they really were having a hard time getting third-party support for it. And the Wii came out, and it was a massive success. Yeah, just like so many people were buying it. But the reason people were buying it is because of Wii Sports. Right. Like, you show Wii Sports, people played it, 4 people were playing at a time, people that didn't play video games, they went out and got it. Like, I knew so many people in my life that would have never, like, let's have a get-together and play a game. Yeah. That were all of a sudden playing games, And I don't really, it's Wii Sports that did it. Like, it wasn't the concept of motion gaming. It was the combination of motion gaming with Wii Sports, the game, and the fact that it was a pack-in. Now, if Wii Sports didn't exist for some reason, like the Wii just came out, and there was, Twilight Princess, and Mario Galaxy or whatever, like, I feel like Nintendo would have still been bleeding. Yeah. And I don't know. Like, it to me, in hindsight, it feels more like luck that Wii Sports was so good than calculated. But it's hard to say. I mean,
I think that's backfiring too, because I think when the Wii was announced, like, it just got panned by like everybody. It's like, stupid name, stupid concept. Nobody's gonna buy this crap, and so then it sold like gangbusters. Yeah. So I think they're like, well, we know best, obviously, because you guys were totally wrong last time. Yeah, and it seems like the DS kind of got that to a lesser extent, if I remember correctly.
Well, the funny thing is, yes, the DS to the same extent got like they've lost.
Like,
it.
Nobody's gonna play this shit. Yeah,
when it was first announced, people were just like, that's it, because up until that point, Nintendo had owned the handheld market. Oh yeah, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket, all that stuff trounced anybody that even tried. I mean, Game Gear, Lynx, forget it. Like, they owned it. And so finally, when the DS came out, people were like, well, all right, well, it's time for Nintendo to no longer own the handheld space. They've lost their minds. And even after it released, it didn't do that well. It took like 9-10 months into its release because the PSP was announced around the same time, and people were like, this is really what people want. But history will show that people didn't want the PSP and people did want the DS because they made a ton of really good games for it. But it's always been, Nintendo's lack has always been third party. They've made a ton of really good first party games, and they continue to do so. Like Link Between Worlds was some of the best Nintendo gaming like for a long time. Like they still have the ability to make that magic, but they still don't have the ability to get other people on board. And that is why their position is always going to be so fragile.
Yeah.
As soon as they go a year
lose
or
their
two,
major designers who's making these badass Nintendo games, they're effed.
If they go a year or two without really good first party releases, then they're going to like bleed. And when you combine that with how poorly marketed the Wii U was, like the name, the messaging, everything about it, like no one's buying that thing.
We worked with that lady before, the one who loved her Wii and she loved the Wii and all this. She'd always talk about playing Mario Kart and all this. You know, she was your people you're going after. That's the only console I think she owned. She loved her Wii. But then she comes to me one day and was like, so is the Wii U, is it like an add-on to the Wii, or how does it work? I'm like, okay, this is not her fault. When your main customer base, the people you're targeting, don't know how the Wii U works, you've got a major problem.
And more than a year after it's out, people still think of that.
Yeah.
It's not like that was a marketing problem around the release time. It's still a perception problem.
Yeah. And I don't know. So I have a question to kind of start wrapping up on.
All right.
How do you think Wii U is going to do this year?
I think it's going to continue to do poorly. I mean, if people don't have a reason to buy it now, what are they going to buy it for?
Bayonetta 2. That's why I'm baying it.
No one's going to buy a Wii U for Bayonetta 2.
I will, actually.
Well,
Johnny
will buy
a
Wii U for
Bayonetta 2.
Bayonetta 2.
Now, I don't think that's going to save them.
I don't think that's going to make a dent in... Like, they're not going to see a noticeable spike by Bayonetta 2. They'll be like, okay, more people are going to buy Bayonetta 2, but like...
Right, I don't expect it to save them. But what's going to happen is people like me are going to go, I want a Wii U for Bayonetta 2. I'm going to buy it, and then I'm going to go, that Mario game is supposed to be phenomenal. I want to get that. Wonderful 101. That's supposed to be pretty good. I'm going to pick that up. And, and I don't know what other games are coming out this year for the Wii U, because honestly, I don't keep up with it. But only for the Bayonetta 2. But once I get one, I'm going to be like, all right, now I'm going to start paying attention.
I think their attach rate will go up with people like you buying a Wii U.
Yeah.
And that's been a big problem for for Nintendo, is that their attach rate always sucks. People buy it and they don't buy anything.
Yeah.
But you're the kind of person who buys games. So that will be good for them. But, I mean, how many copies did Bayonetta sell?
I don't remember.
I mean, it was less than 1 million, right?
Probably. Almost certainly, yeah.
It's hard for me to gauge that because I don't see... Are people still excited about Bayonetta? Like, are there still people that are like, oh, Bayonetta 2? Like,
yes.
Okay. Well, that, I am not in that world.
But again, it's not going to move 1 million consoles, right? It's not going to move half that. But it'll move a decent amount.
If it does move half that, then that would be pretty huge. I mean,
right? If it did, but I think that's again a stretch.
They're still at like 1.5 million or something.
By the way, Nintendo, please, Bayonetta 2 Wii U bundle, please make it happen, like with a sweet looking console. But I think it might help because one, you're getting a more mature game on there as well.
Yeah.
It's not, Mario. But even though the Mario game is supposed to be one of the best Nintendo games made in the last decade or so.
If I had a Wii U, I'd be playing games on it. Like, there are games that I want to play on it. So it's not like I'm just, like, dismissing that system. It's just there's not enough games for me to justify its cost.
Right. And I'm wondering if this year, if they're going to try. So let me ask you another question. What if tomorrow, Iwata, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. What if he comes out tomorrow and says, you know what? We're changing the virtual console system. And now it's a monthly fee and you can access all the games you want. It's like Netflix.
That would be that would like put me closer to like buy. Like I'll put it this way, I would then be keeping my eye out for a sale.
What if they also said, also because I know they've done, I think they're doing this the opposite way. What if they said, now we have this thing that you can just play your DS games on the big screen?
Getting closer, still not there.
Really?
I mean, because the thing is,
but Mario's supposed to be amazing.
Now, if they did all that and they said 2D Metroid on the Wii U, yeah, I'd get it. But that's a lot of ifs. I mean,
yeah, that's a lot of big ifs. But I mean, I'm hoping this is the kick in the pants they need, that they get somebody in and say, look, if you can, I would love. I guess I'm going to buy one anyway for Bayonetta 2. But if
when does that come out?
I'm not sure. I think it's in the next few months. I could be wrong. I don't know if they have a release date. But
do you think it's going to come out for other systems?
No. Like they have fought like pretty tooth and nail to say that it's not, because if it wasn't for Nintendo, Bayonetta 2 would not exist. Like,
yeah,
nobody would fund it for whatever reason.
Okay.
And Nintendo said, we'll pay you money to make this game. That's why, like, I totally get people being angry that it's on Wii U only. I 100% understand. Mm-hmm. But what you have to understand too is, if it wasn't for Nintendo, if it wasn't for this exclusivity, it wouldn't exist.
I bet you it could have if they did a Kickstarter.
I'd back the shit out of that.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like,
this is before the whole Kickstarter thing, though. This is before the Kickstarter thing. So I would back that in a heartbeat, though.
So yeah, the thing is, it's a definite kick in the pants, but it's kind of like Nintendo got kicked in the pants and then they turned around and no one was there. So it's like they don't know what to do about it. They're like, oh, things suck, but like the articles I see, like Nintendo is saying like, yeah, we need to do things better. Like they keep saying generic things. They keep saying we need to be more flexible. We need to do, we need to be more responsive. Or it's like they don't know what they're doing, man. They don't have a clear plan.
But I'm hoping this kick
yet.
in the pants will say, if that's the case, we don't know why we keep effing up. It seems like we're doing things right. I think they go, okay, we need to start listening to different people. The people telling us to do this and this and this.
That's what Sony did when the PS3 launched and it had problems. Like they went to Mark Cerny and like, well, what do you think about what we could do with the PS4?
Well, maybe Nintendo will do that.
Play a card and just go to like other cultures and like solicit opinions from people. And if they are doing that right now, then it could eventually be something that could help them recover from this. But I think it's going to be whatever the next console is. I think the Wii U is going to have a very short life and it's going to get abandoned.
Think they'll go back to a traditional console, ditch the motion control and all that? Like maybe has it as a side thing.
It might,
like it is with the Kinect and all that, where it's like, well, you can do this, but that's not what we're building this around.
I think they're gonna. I think they might come up with a way that integrates like their handheld stuff into a base unit that hooks up to the TV, and so that you can like use your 3DS as a controller or whatever, and it becomes like an interactive controller.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I think they are going to have some sort of like virtual classics library that you subscribe to. Like
that would be so awesome.
I see that idea tossed around so many times, and there's no reason other than the fact that they don't have any like internet knowledge. They just don't know how the internet works.
To be fair, there could be some serious like licensing issues. Like, I mean, you see the problem Netflix is having now, where they're like, we want $50 gajillion for you to have access to our TV library. So maybe they've tried, and maybe all these game companies are like, okay, you can have access to all these Sonics, but it's going to cost you $500 million a year, something.
Well, what then? Like, go to Netflix and be like, we want to put Netflix games on our system. You want to be a part of that? And Netflix would be like, yeah. And let Netflix be the licensed people. Like they have lawyers that manage streaming licenses like all the time. They have licensed lawyers. Like let them do it. Like
they're doing really well, seeing as how they lost a ton of content in January.
They lost a what?
A lot of content in January.
Did
you not notice that?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like a lot of things got delisted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of stuff. Like it seems like now a lot of times I look for something and it's like, oh, not
That's
there.
the thing. Those licensing battles like go on behind closed doors, and we're the ones that suffer.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, this thing's gone. I had no say in it.
Oh well, better pirate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what a lot of these executive people in these companies don't realize. It's like, if I can't get it on Netflix, or
if I
can't buy it on a decent price, I'm just going to pirate the hell out of it and not feel a damn pang of guilt about it.
Yeah. And so on that upbeat note, I think we might have to bring this episode to a close. But thanks for coming by.
This is a short episode, less than 2 hours.
Oh, man. Sorry, guys. We really let you down on that one.
Yeah, our endurance is running out.
Yeah. But, be sure to go to our website, supergametalk.com. Review us on iTunes. Tell your grandmother about us. Tell your, tweet about us. Put a Facebook status up there. Make a YouTube video about us. Pin us on Pinterest.
Tell the world about Super Game Talk.
Yes.
HD Turbo.
The first rule of Super Game Talk Turbo HD Remix is you talk about Super Game Talk Turbo HD Remix
constantly.
Yep.
Doesn't matter where you're at. Wedding, funeral, work.
Everywhere is
school.
appropriate. Everywhere
is appropriate. Love making. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're talking about our podcast.
Bring it up.
And you're thinking about us.
Exactly. But where can the folks find you on the internet?
My YouTube channel is youtube.com/Vertigo Tea Party. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. It's just Malachi VT, or just search Twitter for Vertigo Tea Party.
And you can find me at my blog, Capane, CAPANE.us, and on Twitter at CAPANE_US. And this week also, Read Retro our Retro Magazine launched its website, readretro.com, and hopefully you'll be seeing some articles up there by me. And I have a review coming out shortly of a Dreamcast game called Redo. So that should be up shortly. A brand new Dreamcast game, by the way. They're still making them. Yep. This is one that just came out, an unlicensed Dreamcast game. Which, by the way, I love that there's a piracy warning on the unlicensed game. It's,
that's nice.
There's something so zen about that. But I think that's it. Bread's done.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.